cold. My ears, you know how your ears get plugged? Mine got plugged. Well, my hearing was terrible anyway, the high end. So here I am, and there you are. So welcome to another fabulous CAPA meeting. We have such a great group of people here. And so we want to welcome Katie and Matt, airport manager, assistant manager, who do a fantastic job. And we want to thank Matt, who a couple of times got us out of incredible jams when we couldn't get that projector working. And I left the projector in Falmouth, our projector, that one right there. And he said, "Oh, we got one in my office." And he brought it over, which is wonderful. Or another time when we were going to come here, and turned out that some pipe had broken and the whole place was destroyed. And it took them 6 months to fix it up again. And "Oh, come on over." And we went into the conference room. A reminder that next month we're having our spring dinner. And this is something that we are in a way experimenting. I always tried to keep the cost down so that everybody would come, bring everybody with them and so forth. And if you remember at the Hyannis Golf Club, it was like 25 bucks. You could get, baked haddock. What else did we? We had prime rib, chicken cordon bleu. It was like a 4 or 5 course meal with appetizers, salad, dessert, coffee, all included for $25. But then COVID hit, and Hyannis Golf Club stopped doing that kind of an affair. So then we went out to the Hearth and Kettle in Yarmouth, and that was okay. The first year was a buffet, which was nice. The second year was supposed to be a buffet. It wasn't. So then,
this Christmas was good there, though, John. The Christmas was good.
The Christmas was good, yeah.
The Christmas party there was good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
But it wasn't a buffet. It was supposed to be a buffet. So Pat's wife, Erica Wadsdorf, who does our newsletter, she took over from me doing it, and once a month, and does it every week. So you get that, and she deserves a ton of credit because she does a great job. She said, "Well, let's upgrade the thing." Oh, great. Hi, Erica. But it's one way. So she arranged for us to go to on Main Street. I can never remember the name of the place. Alberto's. And it's going to be spectacular. It will be a buffet. There'll be multiple choices of food and elegant atmosphere and wonderful. And it's going to be a little pricey. I think it's 50 bucks. So what's 50 compared to 25? Double. But it's worth it. It's spring. So plan for that. That's coming up. And along with that, remember, we really need you to send in your flying pictures. It's the highlight of the evening. Richard and Sherry, there she is, sitting with her, put together the slideshow. And, it's nice to see what people did in the past few months, especially around aviation. So if you could send those in, the newsletter will have the address to send them. Just send 3 photos. That's all it is. It's very hard. And even if they're old pictures, doesn't matter. There's something about you, because people want to see that. What have I forgotten? Well, we also want to thank Lucy, who's done a spectacular job as membership director. We went out shopping and bought the soda, the sparkling water, which is nice. But if you have a receipt, give it to Sherry. We should reimburse you, of course. And of course, Phil, who does the 50/50, he bought out of his own pocket a stack of paper plates for the pizza, which has eternally been a problem. We tell the pizza people, remember to send plates and napkins, and we forgot. So now we have plates and napkins and soda and pizza. All right, so tonight we're going to find out all about Barnstable Municipal, Boardman, Fernando Field, Cape Cod Gateway Airport. It's like, I don't know if you know about Webster Lake out in the middle of the state. There's a lake called Webster Lake by the locals because they don't want to say Lake Chagamaga, Maga Chaga, Chagabaga. It's like 52 letters. It's crazy.
My kids haven't learned that today.
Do you know the real name?
I don't remember it. I can't say it, but my kids have to learn to say it.
So Barnstable Municipal, Hyannis Airport, Boardman Palando Field, Cape Cod Gateway Airport. Welcome. So we're gonna hear from Matt and Katie. And then we're gonna hear from Mike, Mike Nelson is the the tower manager and has been here for 100 years. He watched Boardman Palando fly off into the sunset, to the sunrise, actually. So Katie, Matt, you want to come up and take over?
You're welcome. Hey, there's cheers, yeah. Oh, what did you do?
I didn't do anything,
There you go.
but will it show
That was a
on?
cool trick.
Let's see. Sorry. Yay. Okay. Thank you, Matt. Thank you for introducing us. So I'm Katie Service. I'm the airport manager. Matt Elia, the assistant airport manager. So we're just going to go over just a couple of things of what the airport has done, give you an overview and an introduction about the airport, who we serve, our airport team. So here's the agenda for tonight. Again, welcome. Thank you for having us here. I really appreciate it, to give you an overview of what we've been up to. So our airport team, we have a 7-member airport commission. So I have 7 bosses. I work for them as the airport manager. We have an assistant manager and a project manager that we just hired, which was fantastic because we had how many projects last year?
Too bad.
Yes, too many. So our senior project manager was a big help. We have an airport operations team, airport maintenance team, the airport administration, and then we have an airport security and noise abatement officer. So that's our team. It's about 25 folks that are part of that team. Let's switch over. There we go. Airport operations. So we have 10 full-time operations specialists. They wear multiple hats. So they are our aircraft rescue and firefighting team, aircraft fueling. They do all of our inspections to meet our federal requirements and security protocols. And then they service our tenants and our transient aircraft that come to the airport. Our maintenance team, we have 9 full-time maintenance positions. We do not have all of those positions filled right now. As you can see in the red, we have 2 vacant custodial positions, and I feel very bad for Matt because he has been trying to fill those positions for 2 years. So 2 years. So we just increased the rate that we would be paying those folks. So if you know anybody that's interested in working for the town as a custodian for us, please have them reach out to Matt. Our maintenance department also wears many hats. They maintain our runways and our taxiways, airport-owned buildings. They mow the grass for our 639-acre parcel. They maintain and repair all of our airfield lighting, handle snow removal for the airfield and the terminal roadways, and they maintain and repair all of our airport vehicles, which we have many on the field. Obviously, from that picture that you can see, that's just our snow contingent. We have many other vehicles that we utilize throughout our day. A little bit about the airport history. So June 17th, 1928, the first plane landed at the airport. In 1929, airlines were offering daily flights to Boston and Nantucket. By 1943, the US Navy took control of the airport and paved and extended the runways and constructed flight combat training. So what you see on the airfield today, the configuration, taxiway Delta at one point in time was a runway. That came about during the 1940s. George H.W. Bush, our 41st president, trained in Hyannis. He was the youngest pilot in the Navy when he received his wings. So that's a pretty interesting piece of our history. By 1946, the Navy gave the airport back to the town of Barnstable on the condition that it would remain as an airport. Northeast Airlines began service to Boston, New York, Nantucket, and the Vineyard in DC-3s. And then by 1957, the now demolished terminal, which is below, was built after the black and white photograph was destroyed by fire. And then, of course, today we have a brand new terminal building, and that I say brand new, it's 12 years old, if you can believe it. In 1981, the airfield became Boardman Philander Field, and it still is considered Boardman Philander Field, even though we've changed our name. And if you haven't been over to our conference room, we have a array of history of their flight that has been designed in our conference room. It's open for anybody to go and take a look and to look at that historical flight. In 2011, the airport created the new terminal. In 2021, the airport changed its name from Barnstable Municipal to Cape Cod Gateway Airport. When we did that, we went out to some of our users of the airfield, some of our corporate users, town of Barnstable leadership, and many others. And we said, you know, we're thinking of changing the name. We want it to be more recognizable because the airport really is utilized by all the towns on Cape Cod. It shouldn't just be Barnstable's airport because it's not. We're in the commercial core of the Cape, but we needed to use a more recognizable name. In speaking to airlines that we've been trying to woo to come to the airport, when they thought of Barnstable Municipal, the word municipal kind of turns them off. So by putting Cape Cod Gateway Airport, it brings new life to the facility, and we have American Airlines that's coming in June to start flights here. So
Where are they gonna go?
they're going to go to DCA in LaGuardia. Yeah. So my little magic there with the Rotary. So 1941, 2 years prior to the Navy taking possession, that was what the airport looked like. The Rotary was there at that point. But wait for it. In 2023, again, guess what's still there? But you can see the significant growth around the airport. That happens across the nation, right? An airport is built in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s, and the community builds up around it because it's typically the commercial core of any type of town, village, and the village has grown up around the airport. So a little bit about the airport by the numbers. The airport is an enterprise fund of the town of Barnstable. We're a department of the town of Barnstable. We're one of 9 enterprise funds. What does that mean? That means that the airport has to make its own money. We do not take any tax dollars from any resident within the town of Barnstable. We have to set our fees so that we can make revenue to operate the airport and to cover our operating budget. Again, no tax dollars, no supplements from the town of any sort. So the annual operating budget, I just have a table there that highlights kind of where we were. So I identified there in 2018, when I became the airport manager, our budget was about 6.2 million annually for our operating budget. Going into today, in my budget that I'm proposing for 2025, fiscal year 2025, we've almost doubled that, or more than doubled that. That's pretty significant. That has a lot to do with implementation of strategic plan goals that we put in place in 2018, and I'll go over those in a second. The economic impacts of the airport, the state did a great study. They're about to update that study. They did a study in 2019 that identified at that time, the 36 public use airports, what was their impact within the communities that they reside in. So for Cape Cod Gateway Airport, believe it or not, we have over 1,724 employees that are employed here through the 65 different tenants that are on the airfield. Obviously, Cape Air has been here for 35 years, one of our major employers here at the airport. We have Griffin Avionics, Atlantic Aviation right here. So 1,700 employees, that's pretty significant for this region. Payroll, almost 74 million with those 2019 numbers. And then our economic output is about 157 million. And I like to stress that to our community, because our community hasn't put any money in to develop this airport and to keep it running, to operate this airport, but yet they're getting 157 million in economic output from the airport being here. That's significant. Our typical capital improvement funding, if it's a project that's eligible to receive FAA funding, we typically receive about 90% of that funding from the FAA. 5% is matched through the state aeronautics division, and then the other 5 comes from the airport's reserves. So what our typical eligible projects. Start with the runways and go out. So the FAA will set priority based on what you need to do for your runways, your taxiways, your aprons, and so on and so on. But the priority starts on the airfield on the runway. Did I get that right, Ken?
Sounds good.
Okay. The 2018 Airport Strategic Plan. So when I became the airport manager, just prior to that, I worked with the then manager, Bud Brielt, great guy. And we started working on the development of a strategic plan for the airport. So we started to identify with our airport commission what we needed to do to grow, to make sure that we have the funds that we needed to have, make sure that we had the ability to keep the operating budget running with or without with changes in aviation. Obviously, during COVID, we saw significant changes for many airports, and we luckily had other sources of revenue to keep us going. So the four major goals that came out of that plan were to A, maximize general aviation activity, and I'm going to go through some of these in a moment, diversifying our revenue stream, that gets into the non-aviation component, becoming a regional transportation leader, American Airlines, and enhancing the airport's image and branding. So the photographs that I have here are just examples of how we've implemented that plan. So obviously American Airlines, that goes towards our goal C, becoming a regional transportation leader. Oftentimes over the past 5 or 6 years, I've been going to speed dating for airlines and airports. Seriously, that's what we call it. I sit down with an airline for about 15 minutes. I pitch the airport and I say, you should come here. And you do that over and over again. And then you go to many conferences and you have those same conversations with the same people. It took 5 years of conversations with American Airlines until they finally came. JetBlue ended up coming because Bud Brielt, the former airport manager, was working with Dan Wolf, and Dan Wolf said, we need another major airline here. And that's how that happened. So it's a lot of conversations that airlines don't just come because you want them to be here. It's a lot of conversations. They look at the market, they try to understand what capabilities they have. And obviously American Airlines saw something at this airport and they signed up. So June 5th will be this first flight with daily flights to LaGuardia. Then on June 20th, they'll start daily flights to DCA. And JetBlue is in its 11th year this season. So not 10th, 11th. Upper right is the plaza where Kmart used to be. That property is owned by the airport. We have 27 acres of land. That's a retail plaza. That's a perfect example of a non-aviation revenue source for the airport. So when COVID happened and 98% of the flights were down, we didn't have any throughput for the airport, that saved our bacon. So they pay for their right to use that, plus they're starting to pay their gross revenues. So as they have more and more people that develop in the plaza and more companies that sign leases with them, whatever those companies, whatever they make from those rental leases, from those subtenants, we get a profit of that. Newsletter, we started creating a newsletter. That's an example of enhancing the airport image and branding, letting people know what we're doing at the airport, what has changed, how we're growing, how we're modifying, how we're working more hand in hand with our community. Because it's not just about the airport users, the pilots that come to this airport, it's about our community that's using this airport. Another example of that is our events, and I'm going to go through that in a moment. But we just had our 3rd annual A Night at the Terminal, and it's a 2-day event. Pat was present for this one. Where we have scouts sleep over in the terminal. We take over the TSA screening checkpoint. And on Friday night, we have different types of activities for the scouts so that they learn about the forces of flight. Cape Air opens up their flight simulator. The kids get to fly the 402. They get to do a pre-flight check with one of the pilots from Cape Air. They learn how to look at a chart and plug in their destination. So there's a lot of stuff they learn about the forces of flight. So there's a lot of stuff that they learn, and then that they sleep over. I don't know how much they sleep, but they stay over. And then the next day we do a tower tour and an airfield tour. So it's great fun for the kids. But those are examples of what we planned in our strategic plan and what has been implemented. So I'm going to go to the maximizing general aviation activity because obviously that's what most of you are. The graphic to the left and right show the development that we've done on the east side of the airport. We expanded Mary Dunway, which is the road to the east side of the airport. We put in all utilities so that anybody that wants to build a hangar now has easy access to those utilities. It makes it much easier for us to promote utilization of that land. So the graphic on the left-hand side shows a bunch of trees in the upper right-hand corner of that graphic. It's about 10 acres of developable land for hangar development. So the graphic below that shows what the possibility is. So T hangars, conventional hangars, you have it. We have about 3 people that we've been talking to and have a lease that's drafted for at least one a person that wants to build a hangar. So if anybody wants to build a hangar, let me know. The graphics below here, we renovated our fixed base operation that the airport owns, much needed. If you ever went into that building prior to this time, it was a cinder block building that looked like a jail cell. I'll just say it looked like a jail cell. Now it's absolutely beautiful and it's renovated, looks great, and it's more welcoming for our pilots that come to the field. And then we had a 1970s hangar that was in disarray that we took down and we rebuilt on the same platform or the same location. So what type of airport is Cape Cod Gateway? So what is the predominant color you see on this map? Blue. Okay, remember that. So there are 3,300 airports that are open to the public that are identified on this map, 3,300. Of that 3,300, only 11% are commercial service airports, 11%. Think about that for a second. 3,300 airports and only 383 serve the public from a commercial standpoint. Everything else is general aviation. 89% is what we're typically flying into. So of that small 11% of commercial service airports, 145 fall into the category of small, medium, large hub airports. Logan, O'Hare, JFK. 62% of that small amount, or 238 airports, are commercial service airports that are like us, Cape Cod Gateway. So we're primary non-hub airports. We have a healthy mix of general aviation and commercial service, and other such as military. So where the general aviation operations, we're in the majority. And I like to show people this because oftentimes our community will say, oh, you don't do anything at that airport. There's no commercial service there. Well, aviation is much more than commercial service. And it's obvious from these numbers, 11% are commercial service airports. So that's our mix for airport users. So about 56% are general aviation. Then second is air carrier and air taxi operations at about 41%, and the remainder is military operations. Let's see if this works. If I don't have sound, I won't be able to do this, but I'm going to try it. No sound.
No picture.
No picture?
It might take a second.
You got to just wait for
Is
it.
the video on?
Yeah, it's playing. That's okay. We'll go on. The video was just a 2-minute video, and it says, "We are Cape Cod Gateway Airport." And it shows all of our users. It shows those faces that make up the 1,700 employees that work here. It shows the different aircraft that operate at this airport. And the whole point of the video was to identify the fact that we are a very different airport, but yet we're very much alike most airports in the United States, where we have that healthy mix of different types of users. So here's a list of the users that we have. So obviously our tenants, I spoke about our non-aviation tenants, you know of our aviation tenants that I already mentioned. Commercial airlines, our year-round residents, employees that go from here to Nantucket in the Vineyard to work every day. An interesting number to point out is marine lumber. Marine lumber flies out of this airport every morning and comes back every night. And every year they carry about 1,200 of their employees doing that. They bring their employees over to the island and they bring them back at night. That's how they operate their facilities over on the island. Yeah, oh yeah, the new caravans, that's right. What did they have before the caravans? Navajos, okay. We do transition doctors and nurses from Cape Cod Hospital over to the islands for specialized assistance to the people that live on the islands. Hospitality industry workers, you're finding that a lot of these people are not living on the island, so they need a way to get over to the island. Military, medical evacuation, it's near daily, would you say, Mike, and almost maybe 3 times a week for medical evacuations. Summer residents who pay taxes year round use this airport. They fly in, they go to their home, they pay taxes within some of the 15 towns within the Cape. Visitors to the region, and then of course our community. That's our airline, American, Cape Air, JetBlue. We're very excited about that. I am speaking to one other airline that may want to offer service in the off season, going to possibly Florida. So we'll see how that goes. So what do we do for our users? So we ensure that we're meeting all of the federal and state aviation standards for our users. So that means that we're maintaining our airfield to make sure it meets the standard. In fact, in 2 weeks, we will have our annual inspection by the FAA. It's a 3-day, I say grueling because it's very exhausting. The inspectors go through every aspect of our training program, our airfield, what it looks like, our response to an incident or an accident that happens on the airport. It's very detailed, very thorough. It takes 3 days to do it, and Matt usually takes the next day off. An example of recent projects, I have a list there for you, I won't read them all, but every year we put together a capital improvement plan. And the improvement plan gives the federal government and the state an idea of what we want to do moving forward into the future. We have to do that by looking at a master plan for the airport. We have a game plan for what we're going to do. And that's how this list comes together. We identify every year, we have a meeting with the FAA and with the State Aeronautics Division to identify what our projects are going to be, at least within the short term. Also, we look at the long term, but we identify what our 5-year plan is for the airport. So in May of 2022, we completed that process. It's updated periodically whenever there's some major changes at the airport. So we hadn't updated it since the 90s, so we recently updated. It's a 20-year master plan. Like I said, it identifies kind of short-term, mid-term, and long-term projects that we're going to look at in the future. The whole purpose of the plan is to really be ready, have your facility ready. Can it continue to safely and efficiently respond to your customers that are using the airfield? We prepared the master plan in order to really identify what's the next steps for the airport. So once the master plan is completed, the process isn't done yet. So after the master plan, you have to go through an environmental analysis to identify that some of the proposed projects that you might be presenting, do they have any impacts to the environment? Do they have any adverse impacts? Are there different things that you can do or ways that you can change your proposed procedure or your proposed implementation plan so that you avoid some of those impacts? We're in the middle of that process right now. We hope to finish that process by the end of the summer. And then after that comes the permitting process. Implementation for some of these projects are as soon as 2 years from now. So that's a graphic showing you the projects. So basically, a lot of our projects that we need to work on have to do with making modifications to our taxiways to meet FAA standards. So all of these yellow, anything that's in yellow and that light green, those are the proposed modifications. So we're looking at a runway extension on the approach end of 15, 895 feet, all within airport property. We're modifying 3 of our taxiways because they do not enter the runway environment appropriately. They're not at 90-degree angles, so we're making those modifications as well. Some slight changes in the terminal building, bring that up to date. In fact, with the onset of American Airlines coming in, it's great that they're coming in, but there could be a situation where we're at capacity in our TSA screening checkpoint. So we're going to probably put a tent up this summer, but we have to make other arrangements, you know, and it's difficult because it's a very seasonal operation. In the wintertime, it's quieter in the terminal. So sometimes you have some people to convince that it's a good thing to make the modifications that you need. So that's what we identified in our master plan. And like I said, after the master plan process, we go through a permitting process. For this whole process, we've had the public involved. We've had many public meetings. We'll have the 5th public meeting sometime in May or June of this year, just to make sure that they're fully informed with what we're planning to do at the airport. And that's the timeline for the review process. So like I said, that 5th public meeting is in the May timeframe of here. We have a website that has all that information. So if you're curious to learn more about the master plan and the environmental assessment, go to flyhya.com and then you can find it on airport information. Community event series, this is my last slide. We just had, like I said, a night in the terminal. That was completed. I have some photographs in the, actually, it's not my last slide. I have photographs in the next slide. April 30th, the Cape Cod Blue Economy Foundation is going to have their Big Blue event here. Day 1 on April 30th is all going to be about electric aviation. MassDOT Aeronautics will be here talking about their programs for electric aviation. Beta from Vermont will be here. I'm hoping they bring their electric aircraft, not sure if they will, but Beta from Vermont will be here, hopefully with their Leah aircraft. So day 1 is going to be all about electric aviation. Day 2 is going to be about the fishing industry on Cape Cod. June 13th, we have a festivities on the flight line event. This is our 3rd annual, where it's just a unique setting where we have food from Island Cafe that's served. We set tables and chairs up, and really nice Ethan Allen, they come out and they set up the space for us. And it's a really nice environment because you get to sit out and enjoy good food, good friends, laughter out on the airfield, out on the apron. September, we have, I highlighted there, Cape Cod Young Professionals usually utilizes our terminal with about 1,000 people for their event. And that will be September 19th. But the next one that's highlighted there, a great day for the Gateway, is an event that we have with folks from the military, and it's all about aviation education. The EAA comes and offers flights for kids ages 8 through 17. We have different stations that are all different pieces of aviation, and we have women in aviation that are here. We have Bridgewater State University that comes down, Cape Cod Community College, and it's an opportunity for people to learn about different aspects of aviation, but then we throw a little fun in it. We have musical guests that come to the airport. We have guest speakers that are here. We have drill teams that show up. So it's a lot of fun. And then if you're here, Phil will have his helicopter here in the stack display area. So there you go. Full-scale emergency exercise. We have to do this every 3 years to test our capabilities for responding to an incident that could happen at the airport. And we do that with multiple agencies. So that's coming up. And then in October is the 4th annual Southeastern Massachusetts Aviation Career Fair. So I highlighted those two because we always need volunteers to help us with those events. Some of the faces here have helped us with those events. We opened up our doors to about 450 high school students and about 45 different exhibitors so that the students get an idea of what they can possibly learn from aviation and the aviation industry. So it's a lot of fun. So the pictures that I have here are a recent scout event. There's somebody right in the middle that everybody might know, Pat. That might be you. Pat decided to give them paper airplanes. They didn't listen to anybody after that. But it was great fun. We had a really good time. And then this is, you know, some more of our community event series that we have and photographs from those over the years. It's a way to draw our community in, get them into the terminal, learn about the airport, and just have a good time in a unique setting. That's all I have. Any questions?
Two quick ones. Does the solar panels generate revenue, or we just use it for?
No, they generate revenue. So we have an agreement. The way that was worked out, it's 20-acre array. It's 7 megawatts of power. We do not own the whole array. We own a portion of the array. And what happens is we get a check every month from Eversource for the power that's generated through those panels. So we're guaranteed to get a certain amount each year, which is about 350 to 400,000. Because the prices have gone up with electricity, our check is bigger. So this past year our check was $750,000. It costs the airport about $250,000 to supply ourselves and our buildings with electricity in our airfield. That price is going to go up too. So we're anticipating that's going to be somewhere around 300,000, but we're glad that we have the solar array because it provides that power. At the end of its 20-year life, which I think is 2030, 2029, somewhere around there. Somewhere around there, it would revert back to the airport. So then we could use those solar panels and generate our own power and use that for own purposes. With the onset of electric aviation, which it is here, a lot of people don't necessarily agree that that's true, but it's here. Yeah, exactly. They have their charging station. Yeah. Yeah.
This isn't true.
We're putting one here. Yeah, we have a lease right now that we're working on to put an electric aircraft charging station.
Next question.
Yes.
Positive or negative, the public about America coming in.
I
Anything
think, to
positive
be
or
honest with
negative?
you, I've seen more positive than negative. I really have. A lot of people have, many people identify with a particular airline. Sometimes for Matt, it's Delta, sometimes it's not. For me, as long as it's a good flight, I'm fine. But so many people reached out to us and they said, American, that's my airline. I'm so excited. And there's a lot of people that live here on Cape Cod and have a need to go to DC on a regular basis. So this is huge for our community. It's huge. You said you had a third question.
Yeah, next up, I ask you every time. Jan and I are feeling all left out.
Why?
Because we don't see that big H, that circle, H, the land, helipad, ever, never. We're feeling left out. How? Come on, speak up. Come on, you can have a new helicopter too.
Okay.
Okay, so we're feeling left out here.
All right. We'll work on that. Any other questions?
The airport owns that property down where the flag store was. Down by
Cam's?
Camp Street.
No, we don't own that property, just ahead of it.
You don't own the corner?
We don't own Cam's, no.
Because that's gone. What's
Right.
going there? Is that-
So that was to make way for the renovations that MassDOT is doing along the highway there in
Oh,
Yarmouth
that's
Road.
good. That was a mess.
Yeah, they're over next to BJ's now.
That affected the airport rotary.
Yeah,
Everything got stuck there.
well, we'll see what happens. The rotary is still there, so that doesn't help anybody. Any other questions? Okay, oh,
Just an observation, but a long time ago, before John actually got involved with CAPA, and CAPA transitioned from Chatham here, we met in that FBO building. And the environmental conditions were not good. We froze in the winter and we cooked in the summertime. We were met upstairs,
yeah,
but
it's completely changed.
CAPA and the airport have been around this group.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would advise you to just go over there, just when you fly,
Look
just
at that picture.
come over and take a look at it. It's completely different. And
Yeah.
to be honest with you, it's also, I think it's been helpful for our staff. They feel, they're not working in this like dingy area. They're in a very open space, a brand new environment, and it makes a difference. All right.
Is the Loft Aviation running FBO?
Loft is running there in the old Air Cape Cod building, and they have completely renovated that. Completely renovated. It looks beautiful. There'll be a cafe there soon, so if you want to stop in for a coffee. Flight school and maintenance, yep. And there's also a helicopter tour company that is also based there as well.
So you like helicopter?
I know.
See?
All aeronautical users are welcome.
You had a question?
I had a question sort of related to what he was asking. How does an airline and how do you convince an airline to come in here? Because it seems like they're competing with themselves.
Yeah.
People who are in Boston are now going to go here.
So I think where it really comes down is what is their presence in Boston or Providence, and can they capture the passengers that are leaving this region to go up to Boston and Providence, maybe to take another airline. So if you look at American Airlines, yes, they're in Boston, but their presence is not as significant as, say, JetBlue. So if they're able to draw here about 250,000 people that are year-round residents that actually do leave the Cape to go up to Boston or Providence, if they can pick from those people and convince them to start using the facility here, now they're not losing that traffic over to Boston or Providence.
Same kind of aircraft?
They're in an E-175 that
Oh,
they'll be
yeah.
operating, yeah. And typically, when you go to those types of meetings, you're bringing that data with you. You're showing them, this is our community, this is what our community is made up of. This is the leakage to the other airports, and this is what you can draw from. And you try to, be honest with you, you try to pinpoint the airlines that don't have a heavy presence in those other airports, because then the competition is that they're just taking the passengers that normally would have gone to Boston or Providence. So it's a win-win for them.
Very expensive to operate out of landing fees and gate
Yes.
fees are really expensive for the airlines.
Yeah, and we have incentive plans, so in the first year, they're incentivized by having reduced rent, reduced fuel fees at the airport, reduced landing fees. So it's pretty significant for them to enter into the market, because we do give them, and we do marketing for them. We have radio ads that we do. We typically do radio ads in the beginning of the season for all of our airlines, and then we'll highlight one of the newer entrants, so. And it's not chump change. It's a lot of money for us to do that. Yeah.
How many people will they base you?
Well, they'll probably just do turns and then.
Yeah. I don't think anybody will be based here. They'll probably just come in for the flight. Yeah. Any other questions?
Does JetBlue just go to Kennedy from here?
Yes. Yes.
Just Kennedy?
Last year they did LaGuardia, but now that American is coming in, American picked up LaGuardia flights, and they're doing LaGuardia and DCI. Okay.
All right.
Good, thank you.
Now, looking into this, where's Mike? Oh, there he is, Mike Nelson, Tower Chief at KHYA. I won't say the name of the airport, it's too long. So Katie, Barnstable Municipal Airport is no longer a thing, you don't? That
It
name
is Cape Cod Gateway Airport.
That's it.
Yes, that is it.
Thank you, John. Very much. Very
How many
much.
years have you been Tower Chief?
Well,
Well, working in that tower.
We're waiting for the president.
Let me get out of your way, Mike.
No worries. So while we're waiting, just a note, I think I had to do this during the Great Day at Cape Cod Gateway Airport last September. Following Katie is a tough act, I'll tell you. It's, I can already see you guys going, who's this guy? And I want to thank CAPA, Pat, for coordinating, John. Hospitality is awesome. Thank you very much. And the privilege of working on this airport. That was an awesome presentation. And I not only learned a lot, but it also reverberates with my experience over the last 2 years here, 2 years. At IANS. See how I snuck that one in? And wait for it. And want to acknowledge Mr. Knopp, Ken Knopp. I've had the privilege of knowing 10, 11 years. We were in a class together down in Florida. And all of a sudden his name came up as coming to New England one day. No, Ken. And then a great addition to New England. So thank you, Ken. Thank you. You're welcome. Let's see. So, and Ken also want to, if you want to take it, I did pull up something on my phone about the solar eclipse activity.
All right, well, thanks for just the quick announcement.
Yes.
So is anybody planning to fly out to see the solar eclipse that's happening on Monday, April 8th. All right, well, for all of you, the ones who may and the ones who are not, if you talk to somebody, please tell them and please take their advisement to plan what could happen. Air traffic control services could be limited. There will be restrictions on a lot of things, you know, if you get very far into northern Maine or other places, yeah, doing touch and goes or practice approaches, air traffic controls, really not gonna want anybody doing that. If you're in a very remote, uncontrolled area, Boston Center's ability to handle the saturation of traffic could be limited. So I'm just giving you a little bit of forewarning. And the other things you should think about is really kind of parking and accessible to the ramp, and then essentially any kind of fueling arrangements. As always, you know, certainly check notice in case something comes out that needs to be known. I encourage you to go and enjoy it if you do, but just wanted to make that quick announcement and make sure that people do know that it may just be a very odd day with the density of air traffic to be in the area. So, well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. Thank you, because it's all about safety for all of us, and we really appreciate that. And I was looking at the path of the eclipse, and it's from southern Texas right up through the Midwest, and then it skirts up northern upstate New York through like Ontario, right through all of northern New England. So it's quite an event. It's going to happen. So my name is Mike Nelson, and I've been here a couple of years, Phil. And I've had the privilege of working with this great team here, and I look at them kind of like a marriage every once in a while. It's like it goes along. I have a great marriage, 35 years, and every once in a while, yeah, a little tiff here and there, but other than that, it's been fantastic. The facilities are wonderful. They take care of their facilities. This airport, I've been at a lot of different facilities and airports in my career, and it's just been one of the best. So thank you very much. It's awesome being here. So my background, 33 years, not 63, 33 years. And I started at Worcester Tower, VFR Tower. I heard a couple people talking about the area, Webster Lake, and things I cannot pronounce out there. Well, I grew up, and right around the block from me was a Worcester Road. So I've had that since I was about 4 years old. Boston Air Traffic Control Tower, VFR, limited radar facility. Most of you are probably familiar with that airport. That's the one. I go there, they kick me out, I go somewhere else, I go back, they kick me out, and then there most of my career, about 29 years on and off at Logan. And then I worked at Boston Tracon while it was at Logan up until 2004. I spent about 7 years as a radar controller, and they shut off the lights there February of 2004 when they moved to Merrimack, New Hampshire. And I was assigned to Boston Tower. And then on my second day of classroom again at Boston Tower, my air traffic manager came up to me and said, "Would you like to look at Cape Approach?" They did the supervisor job a while back, and they'd like to see if you'd like to go down there. So I spent a couple of years as a supervisor at Cape Tracon. And after a couple of years, I went back to Boston Tower as a supervisor and back to Cape Tracon as the air traffic manager. And then I served as an air traffic manager at Boston Tower for about a year while a friend of mine went down to Washington to do a senior advisor role for a while. And then I went back to Cape Tracon and worked on what they call public law, Section 804, the reconsolidation and alignment of facilities. Cape Tracon was the first in the nation to be reassigned, and they went to Merrimack, New Hampshire to be part of Boston Tracon, now known as Boston South. And I shut off the lights at Cape Tracon. So now it finds me here at this lovely tower. And unlike the airport with the responsibilities of maintaining what I can't even imagine, and the workforce they have, and the people they're responsible for, and the runways, taxiways, all the conditions for you aviators. Air traffic in Hyannis, even air traffic at all the other facilities I have, maybe because I just love it so much, is something that has always been relatively simple for me. I look at the presentation that Katie and Matt had, and it just blows my mind, the responsibilities they have. We just try to keep you guys separated when you call on our services. Now, in the interim, from when they closed Cape Tracon, I was also a Boston District Manager of Operations, which is now known as a Assistant General Manager. And I was responsible for all the air traffic facilities in New England and upstate New York, from like Binghamton, Erie, up to Syracuse, and then all kind of clockwise down to Nantucket and stuff like that. So that's where I get to see a lot of different airports, a lot of different facilities, the maintenance of those facilities, and most importantly, talking to people and meeting people at those facilities. This also doesn't hurt. That was a view. I had never seen a full circle rainbow in my life until I got here. And I missed it was real crisp. And then when I tried to take the picture, it was just fading a little bit, too much sun. So I get to see the best view on Cape Cod every day. So what I want to do though is thank you guys. Not only do I depend on you for a livelihood, because as I've tried to tell people that I've worked with, worked for, and have worked for me, without you all, I have nothing. I'm gonna be maybe calling Matt about being a custodian or something here, because there's no aviation. So thank you very much. And more importantly, just thank you for the aviating you're doing. I've been at facilities where it's tough, sometimes with some of the pilots, and they want to skirt rules and things like that every once in a while. And I really have not come across that. Every once in a while, we get an instance where a pilot is unfamiliar, which is great, because that's what we're also here for, is to help train those people in air traffic ways. But you guys overall, just, you're sharp, you listen, and if you have a question or if I make a mistake, you let me know. That's very, very important, communication. Aviation safety. It's ironic that this speedometer, I put this speedometer on here 2-3 weeks ago, and I went out west for a trip, and I was supposed to get a Jeep to travel across the desert and through the mountains from Nevada to Southern California. And they were real busy. Lady looks at me and goes, "Would you like that? Over there's a white E350 BMW." And I go in and it's got 160 miles per hour on it. Like, yeah, I'll take it. I'll take it. But aviation safety, my perspective on it, it's, related to a car. Who in here plans their drives when they're leaving their driveways, even before they get in the car? Checklist. Think everybody's driving out there is safe, and your route is going to be safe? I don't. So it's one of those things where every once in a while, ironically, during the presentation in September, I don't know if Matt remembers it, I had been talking about in my presentation checklists, and we had a citation, I guess, had an abort because they didn't take the cover off the pitot tube, and it was like, oh, nice timing, So it's I just appreciate that you guys are doing the things you need to do to maintain the integrity of your aircraft and your flight. Is it the safest mode of transportation? That's what everybody says. But why?
Because we're all in tune of doing the right thing, and there's no drooling, as I say. When I talk to you, I talk to you direct, and that's how it's gonna be.
Yeah.
There's no sideline with me and you.
Yeah.
You tell me, I tell you, and that's it. There's no in between. That's why it's safe. I trust you and you trust me.
Yes, and that's a great way to put it. Trusting each other, you know. I trust you guys 1,000% more than the other drivers out there. It's because you can't pull over. There's no breakdown lane. So you have to make sure everything's intact. Anything else? You know, it's you. I know it's you guys. And I don't know the percentages of how many pilots fly never talking to air traffic control. I know it's kind of high. The one thing that used to shock me when I started to learn about air traffic, because unlike you guys, and I used to want to, now I'm scared to because I know how I drive, be a pilot, you know? And I'd watch around the Class Bravo airspace with guys circumventing Class Bravo at 1,800, 1,700, 2,000 feet. You've got heavies going to 4 right. And these guys are like 400 or 500 feet below a heavy jet. You know, 172 Cherokees. I'm like, wow, that's absolutely crazy. But the system, air traffic control plays a part. The technologies, the technology's helping or hurting, indifferent.
ABS, the other airplane. Display.
I had left air traffic for about a year and a half or a year, something like that. And I missed that transition to ADSB. And when I got to Hyannis, on the radar screens, you can see everyone. It is awesome. Worcester Tower, you couldn't see anyone. We had a DF finder and that was it. Can you guys tell me about pattern entry? From your perspective, why, how? Is standardization good, bad?
I don't use the patent that much. I don't like to use it. I don't like to be an airplane, but I know it. And sometimes I call it out. I know the downwind, I know the base leg, I know the final, I know the short final. I think it's pretty good for airplanes. I don't like using it, but you know, everybody knows where everybody is.
Yeah. And for us, air traffic, it's predictability. We have a general idea of where you are going, your flight path is taking you on your entry or departure from the runaway environment, from even the Class Delta airspace. And it's something that I rely on. I just hope I give the right entries every time. That's about it.
Mike, can I ask you something?
Yes.
So when I come in and I tell you I'm 8 southeast, what do you think about me when I come in? You think, where's he gonna go?
No, you know, because usually what's the response you get?
Oh, to call you 1 mile. To call you 1
Mile out, 2 miles southeast, something like
Oh.
that. So the helicopters, depending on configuration, and all the time, we're usually a one-way configuration. When there's a calm wind, you know, some will, if they're coming up from Nantucket, they'll ask for a 3-3, and you know, when they're departing, they'll go 3-3, whether we're on 6 or 2-4. And so when we're on any configuration, the only thing I might ask you to do, and usually not you because you're out on the east when you're coming back a lot of times, the med flights, we'll ask them to stay west of the extended center line of runway 33 or west of the airport boundary, just because if we're on 33, don't want them conflicting with departures off of runway 33 until they can have them in sight, maintain visual separation, and have a good margin of safety. So it's not that big of a issue until it is, unfortunately. Now, in this is what we look at for the radar display. We have a very nice tower display workstation. And what this aircraft is an aircraft that's going southwestbound at 900 feet And the little blue dots behind it, that's just the history of the flight. That's where that aircraft has been over, I think it's the last 20 seconds, if I remember right. And the aircraft to the north of the airport just going away, as the trails indicate, kind of like a radar contrail. And so, is that a straight in for runway 24 or a downwind for runway 6? So runway, here's the airport, right here. That's runway 624, and there's runway 33 and 1533. And the spaces between the hash marks are 1 mile apart. So that aircraft's a mile and a half from the approach end of runway 6. I'm sorry, the approach end of runway 24. No guesses, no. Nail this one. Straight into 4. Yeah, that would have been my guess. I was looking at it. This was an aircraft that was on a right downwind for runway 6. And so that aircraft, that distance from the extended center line of runway 6 is about a quarter mile, maybe tops, something like that. So the thing I like to look at here is, and that's why I put this little arrow in here, is an aircraft coming off of runway 6, either straight out or a right turn is going to conflict with that aircraft. Now, you don't, if now where the winds are like 010 at 15 knots, 16 knots, there's going to be a tendency for an aircraft to drift a bit south of the departure course and also cause a confliction. And the potential closure rates, depending on what you're flying, if it's a couple of 402s, you're looking at 220 knots, 240 knots, depending on the performance, how quick the departure gets up and going and stuff like that. It's on radar, it's scary. When you look out the window, it's funny. You look at the radar, it looks real close, look out the window. Oh, they're light years apart. But from your perspective, I don't know what a near mid-air looks like and have not fortunately been in that position. But I get a little cringy on that. So when I look at it, I compare it to this. I'm using a lot of driving analogies tonight. That yellow line is 6 inches. That bridge, every day I go over, I just wonder, is somebody gonna drift? Is somebody gonna be on their phone? And that's what I compare that operation to. So when I look at that, have you guys heard of opposite direction operations in the aviation community? So what that is years ago, probably it got highlighted and was one of the FAA's top 5 air traffic organizations, top 5 items for safety that needed attention, needed fixing. Because what we used to be able to do before that was, say we are landing runway 6 in that case, and departing runway 6. And somebody says, hey, I'd like to land runway 24. We could do that. No rules, nothing. We just maintain the separation and we're good. But there were a lot of near mid-airs and incidents, we'll say, doing that. The closure rates are just, awful at that point. I mean, I've seen some in my history. I actually had to go down to Houston once to present for something that happened at one of our airports. And I just can't fathom why some of us controllers do some of the things we do sometimes. So I look at it as an opposite direction operation there, where maximum width is not in my favor for the potential for safety. This is what I like when you have something like this. We're landing runway 33, so runway 33 goes up like that, 33 departures out there. We have an aircraft coming down on a left downwind over here. When I was in Boston Tricon, I learned that downwind is close for IFR separation. That's only 2 miles downwinds, but in this environment, it's awesome. 1 mile, 2 miles, it's great, because if there's something out there, I have time to give you guys a traffic advisor, a traffic alert, safety alert, to let you know what's going on. I can call the traffic and let them know, especially if Cape Air here, that's a call sign, Cape Air, I have my glasses on, 9 something. If that aircraft is just gonna be cleared for an option, I can tell them, all right, traffic is 11 o'clock, 4 miles southwestbound, left downwind, or southeastbound, left downwind, altitude indicates 1,100. And then make each pilot aware of that. And it's time for the pilot to react, it's time for the controllers to react. Nice spacing everywhere, just especially as I get older, a little more conservative on stuff like that. And that's the analogy on the bridge thing. You know, this is a very exaggerated slide, but if I had my way, I'd be going eastbound, getting here, and westbound on the Bourne. You know, it's 7 miles, there's not gonna be a car unless somebody rear ends me, you know, it's just, and it's not gonna happen, and I drive too slow, contrary to what I said, to rear end anybody else. So that's just a visual of, I like to be separated. And VFR towers, IFR towers, you know, are a lot different animals. Where Class Bravo airspace, how many of you flown in Class Bravo? So the vast majority, there are certain separation standards, certain rules that the controllers have to apply to make sure you're safe. And Class Delta, all bets are off. We give traffic advisories, and if you go by, you know, planes less than 12,500 pounds, green between, you know, each of them. And green between always made me nervous, you know, making sure they all come out the same side and on the radar scope. So the next part, communication. This is a big thing, and you guys, as I alluded to earlier, and Phil was telling me very sternly, you know, he's gonna tell me what I need to know, okay? And I appreciate that very much, because if I don't know what you guys need, want, desire, then I cannot help you to the greatest extent possible. And we don't want to play guessing games. Towered airports and non-towered airports, I ride around Plymouth every once in a while. I was just over there Sunday. That's where I live also. Regardless of the airport, it's vital. Make sure if you don't understand something a controller says, please ask for clarification, say again, whatever, because we just want to make sure everybody's on the same page, fully understand the instructions, hear back, read back. That's probably one of the biggest issues that plagues air traffic control, is making sure you're consistent and have that hear back, read back loop. So I give an instruction, runway 24, you know, hold short runway 24, and I got to ensure that that read back from the pilot is, we'll hold short of runway 24. And it's just that continuous loop to ensure everybody's doing what they're supposed to do, need to do. The only pet peeve I really have in air traffic is, and it happens almost on a daily basis, is people will be on frequency and they'll be talking for 4, 5, 6 seconds, and then somebody else just pipes up on frequency. And all you hear is a garbled transmission. Sometimes it can't be helped, but just please listen up. You guys probably do. It's just one of those things. The weather. I was just talking before this about the weather, and you know, John, about, geez, this has been a tough spring, and a lot of springs here are tough. But and last year, one of the things Katie did omitted from her slide, whether intentionally or not, so Matt wouldn't start getting all shaky and stuff about last year's construction, was the runway 624 construction. That was awesome. It's a beautiful runway, and it was worth the wait. And you guys all were awesome with all the crosswinds, contaminants, tailwinds at times, just because of whatever New England, especially Cape Cod Bay and Barnstable Harbor throw at us, and you all handled it really, really well. Thank you. Just know what's going up there. I didn't put NOTAMs up there that Ken alluded to earlier, but METARs, the TAF, SIGMETs, what are there contaminants on the runways that you're taking off on, or you're gonna be landing on? Just information is power, I've seen people that, especially in the early days back at Worcester, that weren't fully prepared for what the environment was that they were going into, and some people flying into storms. But fortunately, I've been very fortunate. I haven't seen it a lot firsthand. So it's one thing just to plan on. Movement areas, non-movement areas. I stole this from Matt. Thank you. The green is all the non-movement areas, the east ramp over here and north ramp over there, terminal, I should say north ramp, terminal area. And they're doing a lot of work recently, and that's another thing, airport inspections. I've seen, I don't know how many inspections over my life. Good luck. Wish you the best. But they did fine. They did great last year, if I remember right, and they'll do great this year. They're doing a lot of work. They're out there on a daily basis, just making the airport that much better. And it's not just for the inspection. They're doing it for all of us, for the safety of the aviation. Now on the ground, who's responsible for the separation on non-movement areas? Air traffic, aircraft,
Illegal operator.
pilots. There's quite a few times I'll get a request actually for aircraft to get ATC instructions on a non-movement area. It'd be interesting with American this year possibly too, and Jeff Lowe. But that's something I've done for years and years and years. So it's not a big deal. But yeah, non-movement areas, yep, it's CNBC and you're on your own. We can give advisories, but that's the extent of it, but when it gets to the movement areas, it's air traffic, and we better be on our game and make sure we provide you with the safest of instructions. Things that we like to hear, I like to hear. A lot of times people come up and just say, November 1, 2, 3, 4, I have information Foxtrot. Okay, thank you. Aircraft ID is nice. If you're VFR, IFR, because we do have requirements with the approach control, Boston Traython or Boston Departure, that we have to maintain with them through our letters of agreement with them, and have the present ATIS. If you have, say, I have the weather, or I have the current numbers, it doesn't do us any good. By rule, regulation, we have to have, you have ATIS Delta. Present location. You guys are excellent at that. I think the majority of you always say that. And intentions helps for me, because remember that runway 6 opposite direction. If I know you're going to the north, it's not as big of a deal if somebody's got that skinny downwind going. But if you're going to the northeast, the east, the southeast, then the hair on my neck starts going up. Don't have hair anywhere else. Flight following request. How many of you guys get flight following when you go somewhere? How many times do you ask of that from Hyannis Tower before you depart? Oh, yeah. Do you get approved all the time? Do the tower controllers help you out? Good. Because a lot of times, some of the tower controllers I know here for a fact won't do it unless you're going to Boston. We have a workload permitting. By our rules, the first priority for us is to prevent collision of aircraft, issue safety alerts, traffic alerts, so that we're keeping planes apart. It's it's a little gray with a VFR tower because we don't have any IFR jurisdiction. So we're not separating, we're issuing advisories. That stars display you saw, the radar display, that's only for us to issue advisories and issue traffic for you guys, and that's it, legally. So we do all that stuff, runway scans, and that's really one of the most important things. And I'll be briefing at the runway safety action team meeting, an incident we had last April, which I'm very sorry that happened, that we failed to scan properly. We failed a few things that day, last April. So one of those things that sometimes we, once in a while, somebody will get distracted. We have other duties. Every once in a while, people ask, I didn't get an answer, or it took a while. We're also weather observers. We have to do the ATIS. And on days like we've had over the last few weeks, sometimes we have 3-4 ATISs an hour, and we have to process the weather also. Even though we have an ASOS machine, we still have to sometimes amend it, augment it, all those things. Some phone calls, just an array of things. So every once in a while, somebody's a little behind the 8 ball. I just ask for your patience. Thank you. And I try to always give a squawk code for flight follower, unless I'm really, really spunked up. But also, just ensure if you hear something that doesn't sound right, or it was garbled, or you didn't get 100% of the communication, just come back to us. Yeah, I appreciate that very much. And I know the workforce appreciates it very much, because we want to get it right. And even if it's a third, fourth time, we have to go back and forth, back and forth. And early in my career, I had to do a lot of back and forth. We just want to get it right. Make sure you understand the taxi instructions, make sure I gave you the right taxi instructions. Every once in a while, especially you do a runway change or something like that, you've done one configuration for 5-6 hours. And if you were busy at all, it becomes rogue to actually runway 6 via Alpha. And all of a sudden you've changed your 15 to actually runway 6 via Alpha. Just say something. I'm sure Matt's heard me a lot of times say wrong thing. Make sure you receive the takeoff clearance, and before you go, departure instructions, especially if you're IFR. If you want an on course, if you're departing 6, you want a right turn out to the south of Nantucket, the Vineyard, Chatham, something like that. And you just want to get right on your way, right turn. Just ask for it or tell us where you're going. It shouldn't be an issue unless there's traffic for safety. When you're airborne, that's what we do. As I said before, it's more traffic information and advisories. What I was saying about the Class Bravo airspace before, there's really no separation standards once you leave the runways. We have very specific separation standards on the runways. Whether you're a VFR tower controller or an VFR limited IFR tower controller, those are generic everywhere across the nation, through every airport that is towered. It is crazy though. I was at a air show about 6-7 years ago at a non-towered airport. And I've never seen anything like it. You guys, how you separated each other. Wow, it was impressive. Your pattern entries, like I said earlier, I'll assign them. And if I give you, you're coming from the west, and I tell you enter a right downwind for runway 33, something's amiss. Just, hey, bonehead, knucklehead. Is that a left entry? Left downwind? Make sure you get your landing clearances if you don't have one. And I've been late on many in my career. Hey, are we cleared to land? No matter how much you have to say it or ask it. Transition approvals, we do that. Those are the easiest ones that we work. Usually you guys are just skirting the delta, as somebody said earlier. And there's usually, especially at 1,000 feet, 1,100 feet, 1,200 feet was relative norm around here. That usually never conflicts with anybody out there. So
Mike, can you see me at 300 or 400?
usually, Yes.
Where you losing?
we haven't really that much. You really, the only place we're gonna be apt to lose you is when you're up around the, oh, what is that area? It's kind of east southeast of here, but it's more when you're further out, going north,
I don't know,
north, yeah, towards the North Shore, somewhere in that area, but the radar with, ever since ADSB, but also we did, they fused all the radars, I want to say about 2014, 2015. So what that means is not only do we have the ASR 8 on the Cape Cod Air Base, we have the Nantucket 9, we have the long range radar on Truro that all fuse in together. The Logan's ASR 9, I think it is, or 11. Providence is fused into there. QE, the one down in Riverhead in Rhode Island. So we have a myriad of radars that are looking at you and being fed into the computer, plus ADSB. So it's very rare that we're losing people anymore. Now, back in the day when I was at Cape Tracon, your normal flight paths, we would lose you probably 20, 30, 40% of the time. So we have the VFR advisories we give you, Class D, really no separation services unless you're on the runway or your IFR, but we're not responsible for the IFR separation. Boston Approach gives us our information and instructions on that. Jump plane, you guys familiar with where the jump plane comes from usually? Marston's Mill, so it's this. Yes, sir.
So say I'm flying in between you and the Mills,
Yep.
and you didn't let go of me yet, and you're still with me. I'm still with you,
Yep.
and there's a jump plane there, right? Sometimes you tell me, sometimes you don't. Not even.
Yeah, it all depends on what the jump plane is doing. So if the jump plane is just a part of the mills, and a lot of times they're circling up depending on the winds. Last summer, a lot of times they were coming up and then over the Delta to get over positioned to north.
Oh, they go over you?
Yeah, they'll go over once they're above 22, 2,300 feet. But we get notification from A90, or a lot of times you just know, I'll ask A90, what are they releasing at? So it just means, are they releasing at 10,000, 11,000, something like that? And so if they're at 8,000 still jumping, and you're coming around here, 90, 100 knots, I'm not gonna say anything, because you're gonna be well out of the jump area.
Okay.
And they're targeting to get the guys as close to, or the jumpers as close to Marston's Mills as possible. So that's why a lot of times you won't hear it. But if you're in that area and you know there's jumping going on, you just feel free to ask, because they were up a lot last year. It's a great operation. The Bannertoes, they come off of Marston's Mills, and a lot of times sometimes depending on what they're doing, they come out, come down the Class Delta, and then a lot of times this is the most precarious. They'll get it down here by the hospital and stuff like that, and do their little orbit and stuff like that. So if we're on 3-3, sometimes even runway 6, that's where the proximity is. That gets me to pay a little attention, but other than that, when they start going the North Shore route and stuff, they're usually not a factor. And by North Shore, Barnstable Harbor up here and stuff like that.
Good information.
ATC. Again, I don't think this is much anymore, but used to consider us like police and would report stuff to us, and all we do, we'll take the information. We have no enforcement as controllers. I'll pass that along to other entities within the FAA. The only authority we have is to issue control instructions for the separation and efficiency in expediting aircraft. IFR, VFR runway separation, A90, which is Boston Tracon, is what I was saying before. They give us our instructions. Emergencies, and know you're busy. We just had, a lot of people don't, a lot of pilots won't declare emergencies. It's the weirdest thing. Matt and I were talking about that a little while ago today. It's, I don't understand it. Had somebody the other day, short file, and he said, hey, we're going around, heard something break or something like that, or a bang. Do you require any assistance? No, we're fine. Then why are you going around? But we know you're busy and you're gonna run through a checklist and things like that and try to ascertain what the problem is. But if you can give us a minimum of, you know, so we usually know who you are. So the aircraft IDs are already known, the souls on board, fuel on board, intentions, you know. And this aircraft was conducting approach to runway 6. And after a minute or two, they decided, yeah, we want 15 for the longer runway, a little more length there. And the wind didn't really matter, fortunately, that day. So I knew his intentions, and then I just had to go back real quick. Hey, could you tell me what you have for fuel and salt? And nice and short and simple, because I've been through probably hundreds of emergencies and varying differences in each one of them. Every one of them is unique. But the one thing for certain, depending on the degree of the emergency or the potential of a issue, is that just want to let you guys fly the plane and be able to focus on flying the plane. But the reason we need at least a minimum of information is so the airport rescue fire can also know how to prepare if in the eventuality there is an incident on or near the field, that they can help maximize their assistance, or if necessary, damage control and rescue. That's what I have. Over to you all. Yes.
I have a question because we haven't talked about this in quite some time, but drone activity.
Yes.
I mean, we know that many people are getting their licenses to operate drones, they don't do proper channels. Have you seen a decline, a significant decline in issues? Because I haven't really heard from you about drone activity.
They've been very good. Now, I don't know if that's because of increased awareness. Do you know at your level, are you hearing anything, Ken?
That has tailed off. I think it's actually gone up because laser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Drones, we still see them though. Earlier, just last month, ID has been fully in place. And so that means that there's an electronic signal that somebody was capturing, know who the operator is, or know the registration of the device and be able to pinpoint the operator. I don't know if that necessarily would be a reason for the drop in drone activity, but it has tailed off. You say that.
Well, I think since I've been here, the level of activity is about the same, reported activity, I should say, people getting authorizations. I know recently, just yesterday, the day before, an operator called me because he said he couldn't get an authorization. Asked him my standard question: did you go through the authorization office or COA office? Did you go on LANS? And yes. And I have a contact, and I just said, well, forward me or give me an email, give me the specifics. So I went back and forth with the guy this morning, and he said, no, they're just about 15 days behind. So there's a lot of them out there. The process is slow. Fortunately, I've had the opportunity to meet and or just talk with quite a few of them. And I think at least the ones that have been operating around here that we know of, have just been very responsible and very good. I haven't had a report of a drone, unknown drone, from a pilot. It's been a long time. I want to say last fall. And I think there's only been 2 since I've been here. So we've been doing really well.
And how often are you involved with the authorizations on a monthly basis?
with the exception of a question from a drone operator who's having trouble getting an authorization. Really none, because if you were to want to operate a drone and call me, I have no authority to provide an approval for it. I have to make sure it's either through Lance or the PO office. You're welcome.
That's what people who want to operate in your airspace.
Yes, there's a map. I'm thinking of the acronym ASM, if you get the first letter of the acronym, but it's a surface map around the Class Delta airspace. Every airport has one of those where it has altitudes, mostly, I think they're all capped at 400 feet. Then as you get closer to the airport, they go down to 0. So the perimeter of the airport, which Matt and I have coordinated a couple of operations over the last year for operators to be on or near the airport, a few, because the construction had quite a few drone operations. That, yeah, it needs some special attention, you know, and but it's very easy because that map is very specific. Like that radar, all they do replace it with grids, you know, with the highest altitude an operator can be in there. And if the operator is within one of those grids, and they're gonna be below, at or below that altitude that's authorized.
Have you ever flown a helicopter that is a drone in the area?
I haven't since I've been here, I don't think, but we'll put it on the
Would you
ATIS.
say that?
Yeah. They'll probably go on the ATIS. And if you're in the vicinity of that drone, like about a week ago, a tactical force had a drone up by the Cape Cod Hospital to video a drill. If you were going, if it was a 3-3 final or you were coming from the southeast, would have said you had a drone operating at or below 250 feet until 12:30. Yes.
I never heard of it.
Yeah, it's like the other day, I had a call, it was like 11:30 in the morning, the operator, and he had a authorization, I read the authorization, said, yep, we're gonna be up from noon to 12:15. And so told the tower, noon start and probably a 2020 end. I just give it an extra 5 minutes and they're supposed to call when they're done. And I get a call at 11:55. Yeah, we're done. Oh, okay, it hasn't even started yet. So there's sometimes those operators, you know, estimate differently.
Mike, what's with the ATIS machine? I always used to hear the Sagamore all the time. Now I just can't.
It's a ongoing issue.
What's it, the equipment? We're not gonna talk about that tonight.
It's a
That's
bit
for another
of
night.
both. I logged it out of service about 5 hours ago, I think. It's
The old equipment or something?
it's older and just not, and we've lost in air traffic and tech ops, we've lost a lot of institutional knowledge. Unfortunately, retirements, and the person that used to know the ATIS inside and out retired, want to say probably last November, October, something like that. And he had well over 30 something years of experience.
So when I call you, I don't have ATIS, I'm not gonna flip.
No.
So I just wanna make sure.
No.
Yeah.
Yes.
I work with the special DFR plans for Delta. You should have
We have a letter of agreement regarding that, and we have to coordinate with them because they own, when it's IFR conditions, they own it right down to, we only own like 1,000 feet. So to maintain standard separation, we have to get their permission.
Dave Verpine, and I can tell you that, I think the tower is doing a wonderful job and you're extremely helpful to us. We do a lot of training out here.
Yes, you do, and it's great.
We do Boston route, we do our Kennedy, we just, it's a real mix, and I really appreciate the, graciousness and helpfulness of all the controllers.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
You guys do a great job. I don't know how you guys do some of the trainers though. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, the training flights are amazing what they do.
Yeah.
That's probably a good
Finished
thing.
in, September. After September, I just been a regular line pilot, but, yeah. they're amazing.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, though. Appreciate it. Anyone else? This is your chance.
Well, Mike, in appreciation, we'd like to offer you limited edition gift. Would you like a coffee mug, winter hat, Swiss Army knife, ball cap, or a license plate?
Thank you very much.
Which I'll definitely give you a pen. We also have a flight bag, if that suits your fancy, so please let us know which gift
I'm not
you,
smart enough to fly.
which gift you would like. We get a pen for you.
I'll take a ball cap, please. That's-
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate
Yeah, one thing we have to ask you to do, draw the winning tickets for the 50-50. An impartial person.
So John, tonight's at 88.
$88.
No, 88. 80 for the house, 80 for the winner. $80 for us and $80 for the winner,
Right.
right? Oh, I thought you said 88.
Oh, I thought you said 88 too. But it's 80. Unless you wait.
Okay. Oh. Oh, yeah.
I didn't bring my glass, what do you think I stuck it on you?
440842. 440842.
Someone has it. Nobody left. 842, last three numbers.
Whoever thought it right before me, because I have 846.
I'm right after me.
Where's that side? That side.
Nobody has it?
I know what it was. I always put mine in, but I don't win. Every one of mine, I put my own in. Well, every week I put my 20 in.
Oh,
That's what
okay.
it is.
That's nice of you.
That's extremely nice.
Well, you didn't want to lose a customer.
No.
Just because I'm doing it, right?
That's right.
Right.
440860.
Is it all done? No way. I got the shop from her, you know. She did it for 30 years. I got stuck with it. She gave me the job so she could win. See that?
So, master pilot.